Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mozart, and today I just wanted to showcase a character that I made, um, that I put together in Toonboom and drew out in Adobe Illustrator. So this is the current character. So first off, I started out in Illustrator, and I had a general character. Now he looked a little bit different in the drawing that I found. And this is after he lost his arm from the cartoon Final Space. Beforehand, it was a normal arm, so I wanted to make it the same. So I copied that character and just basically did the outlines of it, because when you bring it into Toon Boom, you can do color as well if you put it on its own layer, and you can bring that in as well. But I just decided just to do the line art here, and that's because generally it's just a lot easier if you're working in a production where they want to have pencil lines in your Toon Boom character, which most production studios want nowadays. um, then I hate to say it, but I just think that it's just easier to work in Adobe Illustrator, since the program itself is made specifically made for vector drawings. Um, and also, in addition to that, I have plugins from Astute Graphics. Now, Astute Graphics is, where is it at? Got to get it open. Astute Graphics is a plugin for Adobe Illustrator, and I have the Elite bundle, which is about right now it's on sale, half price. I bought it when it was on sale as well, and it's till August 16th. I bought it for I think about the same price, or a little bit less. I think. How much is it? Yeah, I think I bought it for this price, half off, about $400. But if you don't want to spend that much, I would recommend then just getting the drawing bundle. Why is that? Because the drawer, you have dynamic drawing. That's one of the plugins. Hold on. Whoops. You have dynamic sketch. Dynamic sketch is one of the main things that you have to get. So if you wanted to just buy it by yourself, you could buy it here, the plugin. But it does have its bundles. So you get dynamic sketch, and you have Inkscribe. Those are the two ones that you should get, if you're going to get any. And I'll just show you real quick what they do. Inkscribe, you can draw, but also at the same time, then you can move very, very easily. You can change stuff while you're drawing, and it's just a huge time saver. And dynamic sketch, you can draw, and then when you have lines that intersect, you can then erase them very, very easily, and they connect automatically. Okay, they're connected, unlike in Toon Boom, where they're not going to connect, and then you have to join the lines and stuff like that. And then there's another plugin. I think that this comes free. It's called PathScribe, and this has a lot of options. But one of the coolest ones is if you have, for example, a point here and a point there, and you had an intersection in between. When you delete it normally, like you would in Toon Boom, what would happen? If you removed it, let's say if I got the normal one and I wanted to remove it, how do I remove it? If I deleted it, it would just delete. But if you delete it here in Toon Boom, it would make a line. It would just make a flat line if you did delete it. But here, if you press X to delete it, it does it makes then the 2 points actually take care of that line, and it keeps its smoothness, or the point in which you erased it. So if you want to see that again, it tries to smooth it out. So if this was, for example, let's just say it was really, really smooth and I had too many lines, for instance, if I had a line there, a line here, or a point here and a point here, I could select it, delete that one, select this one, delete that one, select this one, delete that one, and whoops. Well, I don't know why it doesn't work now. Maybe I need to add a point. Let's say if I had this point here and I deleted it now, and I think I can add this point and it'll work. No, it's not wanting to work. But most of the time it works, where it will have, it might, because this is going in a little bit. So if I put this out like that and then I deleted it, Yeah, you see how it smoothed it out a little bit more. It was just freaking out because it was going inside a little bit, but as it I think what it did was is averaged out. So that really comes in handy. And there's a couple other plugins for this. Like for example, Vector First Aid. If you had a bunch of points on the vector that you're working on, this will actually calculate it and make it all smaller. And that helps, you know, when you're working in a program like Toonboom. So yeah, I just prefer to work out of Illustrator, and maybe I can do a tutorial and teach about it. So yeah, so then I just made these I made all the phonemes, the mouth shapes, smiling, and if I showed you the character I was making from this, um, I made all the basic mouth shapes, the general mouth shapes, happy and sad, and then I drew some eye shapes that would be, or the blinks, the four or the three different types of blinks. So you have 25% closed. This would be, what would you call it? 75% closed and then completely closed. So that would be a complete blink, right? With the closed. And then I have happy, you know, kind of angry or sad, and then the different types of pupils. But I didn't use that or employ that here. But I did have the eyes instead of the pupils. So then I took that, I brought that into Toonboom. And then what I did was let me get to Z, let's zoom out. I basically rigged up the character, and this is no joke of a rig, man. This is a real production rig. And that's what I wanted to make. I've been doing this for about 2 years now, learning how to rig. So, and this is 2 years of studying from the various people online that are teaching how to rig characters. And this is what I prefer to do, how I would set up my node view. So I have the leg back, leg front, leg forward, leg B for back. And I put them in their own boxes so that if you're going to animate, instead of using the timeline, you could actually just use this instead. I think it's just easier to navigate. And so I start from the bottom and work my way up. So I start with the legs here. And I think that all productions should do it this way then. In all truth, it just makes it so much easier just to know where everything's at, and you could just quickly get to it. And so I add legs, arms, have them connected, and then I put the head. I used to put the body in the middle and try to put the head on the top so it looks like a character, you know, kind of. But what I found is that since everything's connected to the body, then I kind of want to work up like a pyramid. So I'll put the body at the top. And so then everything is going to be connected to the body. So let's just look at some of the rig itself. Of course, I added all the phonemes, so let's check out those first. And the eyes. So you have all the various mouth shapes, right? And then it stops. I have two different eyebrows because that's how the character is in the show. And let's look at the legs. Let's just work from the bottom up. I have 3 different feet for running. So you have the default position, then when he's like running upwards, or when he's putting his foot down, or it could be behind him, but just 3 positions for the feet. I didn't make any hands yet because I think I'm going to do that real time in the animation. My next step is I'm going to actually copy. I don't know a lot about animation, so I'm just gonna break down the animation from the cartoon and mimic it myself. So let's say, for example, this scene itself, you know, there's a number of hands gestures in this scene that's taking place. So I'm gonna draw it real time. I'm gonna learn how to draw the hands real time, and that's something I gotta work on now. So. And that's basically how I'm going to learn how to animate now. I'm not the greatest at animation. I'm mostly a graphic designer. So, but I'm trying to learn that. So let's just break down the various different deformations. So yeah, okay. So the leg, in Final Space, what I saw was when I look at his animation, it's pretty much his feet are. If you look at it, it's pretty much there's not a lot of animating on the boot. So I just decided, I just made an executive decision that then the boot doesn't need to have any deformation on itself. It's just gonna animate. So the deformation just goes to here, and then the rest is just regular, without any deformation at all. So yeah, and I did that on both legs. So both legs have that deformation. Okay. This one has it as well. Same thing. So it can just easily move, and then you can do a running, like let's say he's running forwards. Well, that doesn't look the greatest, but put it like that, and then you can change the foot up if you want. So it looks like he's running forward, right? So back. Okay, let's get off that. Same thing with the arms. Now, of course, if you want to look at how the arms are done, I mean, there's a lot of cutters put in here. Like for example, I mean, the shadow itself, each of these shadows has its own peg. So I don't know. I was just trying to do it production, like a production studio. So if they wanted to move the shadow, they have that option to do it. But in real life, I probably just add it to the arm. If I'm doing some quick YouTube video, I wouldn't put that much time into the shadows like this. But if you see here, this shadow is a lot more complicated than people think, or know. This is coming from the front torso. I had to bring from the front torso to bring it down and then have it be rendered out like that. So that was complicated, the front torso. And the back torso also has that. So they each are getting cut in. And there's a lot of cutters being used here for the hand itself as well. The hand and the wrist are separate. So the hand has its own peg, and then the wrist does as well, because when you're pointing, for example, if the character was pointing far away like this and his arm was out, let's go over there, then it wouldn't be forward. It would actually show the inside of the hand. And I didn't make that. I didn't make a drawing substitution for that, but I will in production if I do make some videos with this character. So yeah, I put a deformer on each of the arms as well. So same thing. They're all connected. The hand itself, it has a substitute. So then this little part here comes out, as you can see. It has so it's able to overlap when he's talking. So if I wanted to do a scene, let's put it down. If I wanted to mimic like this scene here, where his arm is down, you can see right there, he could sit on the chair very easily and have an overlap, and it would be ready-made. So yeah. Then as for the hair, all the hair has deformers on it. Very, very complicated deformers. If you want to check them out. So each one of these has deformers so that when he's getting up, his hair. Now here, this shadow is very, very complicated. And I'll show you. Because it's being connected to three different areas, or two different areas, excuse me. It's being connected to the head, the back of the head. It's showing a shadow, and it's showing a shadow here on the hair. So where's the back shadow at? Let me see. Hair. Yeah, here, back shadow. So let's look at that one. So this back shadow can move along with the hair. So if the hair is going down, it's going to show on both of them, right? Now I could put it on the eye as well, but I don't think generally the shadow is going to come that down. And it could be, I could actually then put it as well. It's not that difficult to also put a cutter on the shadow to make it work for that one as well. But most of the time, the hair in the front is just going to move upwards and downwards, and you'll want to animate the hair to go along with it, right? So the hair has a deformation as well. All the hair does. So if you wanted to look at it all together, you can see that all the hair has deformations. So if he was to jump and you wanted some follow through, then the hair can do some follow through. Okay, to continue, the eyes are very complicated. This right eye, the back eye, is probably the most complicated if you wanted to check that out. I mean, it's no joke. This was a lot of cutters. And the reason is because um, if you, it's mainly because of the brow, I believe. So, okay, so the next part is eyes, head, yeah, and then the body itself. Um, so if you want to check, and the body is very, very complicated as well. Now everything is connected. So let's look. Now I don't know how to just show the body without, or the torso, this deformation without showing the rest of it, the body, but it shows the rest of the deformations. I don't really like that feature in Toonboom, but as you can see, you can animate everything is connected together. There are some issues here and there. That's because I have a cutter above the above the shoulders. I have a big cutter to cut out when I'm animating like this on the shoulders, because there were some overlap that was popping out, so I just put a cutter there. So if I go too far this way into the body, it'll show the cutter. But generally, you're going to be moving forward. As you can see right there, you see that right there? That's popping out. And that was happening before. I put a cutter there. I don't know why it's still popping out like that. Yeah, you see how the cutter is? So I might have to even put it more close to get rid of that. So that, because more than likely, the only animation he's going to be doing, I don't think he'll be that off basis. The most extreme that he'll be doing is like this, going forward extreme, and then going backwards to an extreme. Let's say something like that. Like the most you're gonna go is like that probably, or something to this effect, you know, or it's gonna be backwards like that. So never do you have a character going forward like this. That's just you know, his spine can't move that way. So yeah, so it's all connected. The whole character's connected. And then I put the torso above torso, and then I add the legs to the squash, and I go for the body, right? The whole body, everything. The head's connected to the body. The arms are connected here to the top torso, and that's the last peg that you put there. And then I connect everything to three main things. I have squash and stretch. I start out with squash and stretch, or I start out with movement. I can't remember which one I start with first. I think you squash and stretch and then you move, but there's a way to do it so that it's better. I'm pretty sure it's squash and stretch first and then movement second. So you squash and stretch the character. Whoops, I'm doing it with this peg. And then you move the character however you want. I think that's the correct way to go. So if we were to start a peg, let's get rid of the, and then move him. All right. Move him. Then it's going to work. Well, if I didn't turn on animate. So keyframe, boom, move the character, keyframe, keyframe. Where's this? Let's go up. Then adds set motion keyframe, and then it'll move. Right. So yeah, that's that. All right, and now the final thing I just wanted to touch upon that I added. Now again, just reiterate, I'm okay at animating. I know how to animate, but I'm not perfect. But I did add something that I think to the bottom here that would be good in animation. Now, let's just take, for instance, here in this scene, right? Okay, so in this scene, I'm actually going to animate. I'm going to remake this scene itself, right, with the character. That's my plan. So let me just show you here what I have. I have a remake, a screen capture of this, but I have the 4 different elements that are part of the scene. So if you were to look at the scene from Final Space, The four main things are you have a character, a secondary character, you have the table where the character is, his food that he's interacting with, and then the background. So the character, if he was to be there, if I was to remake this, for example, a YouTube video, I would make the background, have it be on its own layer, right? I would then I would make the table or the character, the second character, that would probably be of course it would be an animatable character. So that would be on its own layer. And then the table would be on its own layer, and the food would be on its own layer that he can interact with. So the question is, how do I put the character, if you were to look at this animation, how do I put the character behind the table while at the same time, if you look here, his hands are in front of the table? Well, the way that you do that is that you would have to then separate, you'd have to put the table in between that character. So what I'm thinking is that, well, then you can actually, there's a couple of body parts that need to do this. It could either be the hand. So let's say, for example, when he's running and he's grabbing the character here, his hand is going to be in front of the character, but his arm isn't, right? It's only going to be the hand. So I want a layer for just the hand, and I'd probably put the fingers in the overlay section. And then you can export that if the scene calls for it. So, and I did the same thing. I put comps for the arm and the leg as well, because maybe, let's say, for example, he's putting his legs on the table. He's sitting like a boss or something in an office, and he wants to put his legs on the table. So I'm giving myself that option as well. And possibly I'd even do the head, because maybe he's putting his head down on his hands or something, or his head on the table. So that's also an option that I might bring down here just to have ready. So, because I'm trying to create a character ready for production, so I don't have to go back and do anything. It's just ready to go. I'm trying to plan out all the possibilities and have it ready to go. So you have the arm, for example, the right arm that could be there. And then when you put it out on the general layer, if you bring it out into the general comp, what you can do is then you put the table in between. So let's just say, for example, if I wanted to make another layer, boom, drawing, let's just add and close. And you were to add a rectangle and then add something in between. As you can see now, the arm is actually overlapping, right? And it could, so then the character himself, whatever this, he could actually be behind the table if it was a table. You know, so let's say, for example, he's carrying a box or something. He can then walk and it's behind him and the arm is in front. So, yeah, so, all right. And so that's one character I made. And I think I'll make another tutorial on this, but in addition to that, in my character library, I asked for some help of how to, I wanted to make a default character. So I added a couple of things. I added, where is it? Final space, blue. Come on, baby. I have a character that's blue. Okay. So if I was to move that one. And the way I did that is I just put in a color override onto it at the bottom, and color override. And I have the same thing. I did another character. Where is he? Yellow. Let's go out of this. Final space yellow. And I have another character as well. So this guy is redhead with yellow. So yeah, I mean, you have multiple different characters that you can build off of this, and it was fairly easy. This character took me about, I would say, 7 days to finish completely. About 3 hours a day, 3 to 4 hours a day, just doing you know, messing around, doing a little tinkering of the eyes, the arms. So I'd say this is probably like a 21-hour character rig altogether, which, depending on how much you get paid an hour, you know, $50 an hour, or you know, $100 an hour, depending on how much you get paid. And this is a pretty expensive character. If this is, and you know, production wise, if you're doing front, sidewards, front, back, you know, you can see how expensive characters can get pretty quickly. So that's it, man. And hopefully, I think I'll make a tutorial afterwards on how to make this character, maybe from scratch. I'll see. If I get enough of you guys to ask how to do it, then I'll set it up. So thanks for watching.